Welcome back, second graders. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to continue working on exploring nonfiction text features, and we're going to learn a little bit about orcas too. I have an assignment that I have gotten on Schoology. Here's my assignment. I need to create an animal PowerPoint. It's due on June 12th, so I have some time. Here are my directions. My directions say, create a PowerPoint presentation about an animal you are interested in. In your PowerPoint, tell the following information. A description of your animal, that means what the animal looks like, where your animal lives, what your animal eats, at least 2 other interesting facts about your animal. I'm really excited for this project. I've picked orcas as an animal that I'm really interested in. I think they're really cool and I see pictures of them all the time, but I don't actually know that much about them, so I'm excited to learn more. Fortunately, I have many helpful nonfiction text features that are going to help me as I research orcas. Some of the nonfiction text features that we have learned are all about title. Most nonfiction books have a title that tells you what the whole book is going to be about. We've learned about table of contents, captions, bold print and glossary, index, diagrams, which remember are pictures with labels, maps, and tables and graphs. Some of these text features will help me today. Others I may not use. The first nonfiction text feature that is going to be really helpful to me is the all about title. We have a whole big box of water animal books. And so I pulled a couple of books out. And that all about title is going to help me decide which of these 2 books I probably want to start with. When we look at the first book, it's called Clownfish and Other Coral Reef Life. My other book is called Orcas and Other Cold Ocean Life. When I think about those 2 titles, Clownfish and Coral Reef Life, that doesn't really have anything to do with orcas. So I suspect I won't find any information in that book. But with a title like Orcas and Other Cold Ocean Life, I think that's a really good book to start with because in the all about title, it mentions the animal I'm trying to research. Now I'm going to use the table of contents, or often it just is listed as contents. The contents of a nonfiction book tells the all about names of the chapters. So when I look at this table of contents, I see that the chapters are called Cold Oceans, Orcas, Dolphins, Humpback Whales, Whale Sharks, Herring, Tuna, Sunfish, Jellyfish. There's a glossary, there's an index, and there are ideas for teachers and parents. One of the interesting things about reading nonfiction, especially if you're reading nonfiction to try to do research, is you don't have to read the entire book to find what you're looking for. The table of contents will help you know which chapters will probably have the information that you need for the topic you're researching. Right now, I really just want to know about orcas. So when I look at the table of contents, I see that starting on page 6 and for the next 2 pages, that's where I will find the information I'm looking for. So I'm going to turn right away to page 6. Now I'm on page 6. When I look at page 6, I see a couple more helpful nonfiction text features. For one, I see that heading that I also saw in the table of contents that says orcas. It's the only heading on this page, and so I've got a pretty good idea that this whole page is going to be about orcas, because that heading is the all about title for that section of text that you're going to read. I also notice that this page has a caption. Remember, a caption is a sentence that tells more about the picture. The caption helps the reader get more information than just the picture itself. So listen as I read the whole page, paying attention to what's going to help me with my research. Orcas. The orca is also called the killer whale, even though it is actually a dolphin. It is one of the fastest ocean hunters. The orca's black and white markings make it easy to identify. Notice I'm not done reading the page yet. I still have a caption too. So I'm going to take a minute to look at the picture, and I see an orca jumping out of the water. Now I'm going to read what the caption tells me about that picture. Orcas leap high out of the water, then plunge back into it. This is called breaching. Well, from looking at that picture, I already knew the orca was jumping out of the water, but now I know that that move has a special name. It's called breaching. I have now learned some important information from this page that I'll be able to use when it comes time to do my report. I know some information about the description of the orca. I've learned that orcas have black and white markings, and I've also learned that orcas are dolphins. I've learned a little bit about where orcas live. I know they live in the ocean, but I think I'm going to need to do more research to be more specific. I haven't learned anything about what they eat yet, but I have learned some interesting facts. I know that orcas are fast hunters, so I know that they're sometimes called killer whales. Now I'm going to read the second page of my orcas chapter. When I look at this page, I see that in addition to a caption, I also have bold print. When we see a word that is in bold print, that often tells us that we can find the definition of that word in the glossary. So when I come to that bold print word, I'm going to stop, look it up in the glossary if I don't know what it means, and then I'm going to come back to reread that page using what I know about what that word means. Orcas live in groups of about 30 called pods. No, I don't know what a pod is, so I'm going to go to the glossary. When I look at the glossary, it's like a small dictionary. The words are written in alphabetical order. Here's where I found pod, a group of dolphins or orcas. So now I know a pod is a group of dolphins or orcas. In this part, it's going to be about orcas. Watch as I back up and read that sentence with that definition in my mind now. Orcas live in groups of about 30 called pods. Now I know that that's that group of orcas. Each pod has its own special language. Orcas talk to each other most of the time, so life in a pod can be pretty noisy. Notice I'm not going to turn the page yet because I have some captions. Some orcas stay in the same pod for their whole lives. So I know that they stay with the same group of orcas their entire life. There's kind of a funny caption here. Orcas will even swim onto the beach to catch a seal. Whoa. I think I've learned some more information that's going to help me with my PowerPoint presentation. I haven't added to what I know about the description of the orca, but I now know a little bit more about where they live. They live in pods or groups of other orcas. I also know a little bit now about what they eat. At least one animal they eat is a seal. And I've learned another interesting fact. I've learned that orcas talk to each other. My only chapter about orcas was found on pages 6 and 7. So before I put this book away and start looking for other resources, I turned to the index. Remember, an index is usually found in the back of a book, and it's a list of topics and page numbers where those topics can be found in the book. When I look at this index, I'm looking for the word orcas because that's my topic. They also have it listed as killer whales. The pages where I could read about orcas are on page 6 and page 7 and page 15. I've already read pages 6 and 7, that's my chapter, but I haven't read page 15. So even though that page is not in the chapter called Orcas, I'm going to turn to that page and see if there's some extra information that will be helpful to me. I'm going to read the whole page 15, even though not all of it will probably have to do with orcas. Herring are covered in shiny scales that glint in the sunlight. Each female herring lays about 40,000 eggs. Only a small number of herring live to be adults. Most are eaten by predators. Orcas hunt herring shoals. Oh, now I know why they had me read page 15. I didn't learn any more about the description of orcas. I didn't learn more about where they live, but I did learn about another animal that they eat. They eat herring. Didn't learn any more interesting facts, but I was able to at least find one more piece of information that I didn't know before. If I hadn't checked out the index, I would have never read part of the herring chapter. So as you are reading to learn about a topic, make sure you look at that index to see if maybe you have information about your topic hidden in other chapters. I'll show you my assignment again. When I think about the directions to my PowerPoint assignment, it told me that I need to be able to describe my animal. I know some information that describes the orca, but I think I could find some more. I know that I don't have a whole lot of information about where the orca lives, other than the fact that it lives in the ocean and it lives in a pod. So that tells me that's another area of research that I need to continue to do. Fortunately, I now know 2 different animals that the orca eats. I knew from my chapter it eats seals, and from the herring chapter that I found in the index, I know that they also eat herring. But I wonder if there's some other animals that they eat as well. So I'm going to keep reading. And I have found at least 2 interesting facts about my animal, but I think I could find even more interesting facts about the orca, so I'm going to keep reading to research that as well. I have found really as much information as I can from orcas and other cold ocean life. That tells me that I need to find other resources. When you are researching a topic and you find that you've maxed out what you can learn from a book, that's when it's time to start looking at other nonfiction books as well as other resources like Pebble Go. Today, I found lots of nonfiction text features that were really helpful to me. Today, I used the All About title, I used the table of contents, I used captions, I also used bold print and the glossary, and the index. In this particular book, I didn't use diagrams or maps or tables and graphs, but as I'm reading more about orcas from other sources, I'm really going to pay attention, especially to when there are maps, because I want to learn more about where orcas live. Thank you so much for exploring nonfiction text features with me, and thank you for learning more about orcas with me. I hope you have a chance to read some more expository nonfiction to research topics you're interested in as well. Thanks. Bye.